Brutal death metal hails. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Today, what I have here in my hands, what I've been listening to past few hours is one of the best albums of the year, especially when we're talking about death metal. So, enter Necroticgorebeast from Canada, Quebec. Now, why Quebec especially is worth mentioning is that it just happens to be probably the best city in whole Canada when it comes to black metal. I mean, it is a city, Quebec City and Quebec area, the province, that seems to cater us with the best bands in the whole country. And it seems that it doesn't even end with black metal. I mean, when we're talking about bands such as Necroticgorebeast, there is something really special in that area. I don't know what it is, but I know these guys are fantastic. Now, Necroticgorebeast did an album, what was considered for me as one of the best albums in 2019. That is 2 years ago. What made it even more fantastic is that it was the very first album by the band. Commodore's music here is, for me anyway, kind of a sign of quality when it comes to brutal death metal. That is, whenever they release an album, all my eyes are like open, like, okay, what is going to happen? That was very much the case with the Necroticgorebeast when it happened, you know. Let's be honest about it. The name is quite horrible. When I saw the name, I was like, okay, is this a goddamn joke? I mean, this can't be really good with that kind of a name, really? But I was totally wrong. And luckily for me and the rest of the people out there, because what was the worst thing on that album is indeed that album name. That should tell you a lot. Now, this is brutal death metal / slam. Even after so many years, I still don't know where the actual difference is between these two. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter. There are probably some uber fanatic people who make some kind of a distinction between these two styles, but I'm not gonna go to that far because it doesn't really matter. Genres are only guidelines, and as such they should be used if you ask me. So let's talk about the band's second album, Human Deviance Galore. Now this sounds like a proper death metal release name in my eyes and ears and head and all that stuff. And this one features some 36 minutes of music in 10 tracks, which is kind of a really cool thing to point out. Why would anybody care? Because so often these days it seems like bands are getting like too hungry, too lost in their ways. Like, okay, let's add some 15 tracks and make it 55 minutes or something crazy. Or 10 days like 8 tracks and 45 minutes or whatever. The point here is you keep it compact and you get to the point and just move on to the next track. That works so well with this kind of death metal. It's brutal, it's heavy, it's just grinding you down. You don't need 8-minute tracks to kind of prove the point here. Right. So what is happening with Necroticgorebeast is like, these are some 3 to 4 minute tracks, give or take. There's one song which is more than 5 minutes, but let's be honest about it. It is in the sweet zone, so to speak, when they're operating around 3 to 4 minutes. 2 minutes maybe a little bit too little. It's like almost like grind. But when you're like 3 to 4 minutes, you kind of get to deliver those level blows and to grind those bones down, get that piece of flesh into a bloody pulp, and then the next victim is right there behind the corner to be grinded down as well. Now, I really like how heavy this album sounds. It's like, man, I just want to get a grip of that heaviness. I have, mind you, quite a powerful subwoofer. It's not like super high-end, but it's definitely better than most people I know have. And this is the kind of album that actually takes benefit of that. It sounds very like getting low when it's doing that. So I feel like, man, this is good. Those guitars totally shredded. And, you know, it's just not going all the way blast beats. In fact, this actually features quite a lot of those mid-tempo parts. So where so many bands think that speed is the only thing that matters, or the only thing that defines brutality, or, you know, being extreme metal. There's so many black metal bands and death metal bands that just seem to kind of speed their way down and seem like, okay, we need 45 minutes of and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, nobody cares if you do that 20 minutes in a row. It gets repetitive and you kind of lose that extreme end. But if you keep, changing the patterns, you keep adding that diversity where you can do really, really heavy and slow parts. And then you once again add those blast beats or double kick drums or whatever. It creates this dynamic feeling that whether you were slow grinding those bones down, like, okay, the machine does its work and you can see the blood splatter all over your face and ears and all that stuff. It is a wonderful feeling. Actually, I would go as far as to say some of the best bands, when they are able to do a really good riff that works in slow or mid-tempo pace. Now, if that riff sounds good, then you know it can sound good even when you speed up. Because when you add so much speed, everything is kind of about to sound more aggressive. Whether you have this kind of a blast beat, you can just use a ride drum and all that stuff. Yeah, I get the point. But that is also a very easy way to just kind of create this illusion that just because you add this blast beat and high tempo, all the riffs are good, which they are, not often, to be honest. Sometimes what Necroticgorebeast is doing, sometimes these riffs are at their best when it's more slow or mid-tempo. But like I said, this is an album that takes good benefit of having this diversity. So it doesn't matter whether it's slow, mid-tempo or fast, it's really, really heavy and brutal. Now obviously vocals play a big part in this kind of music, and these are really monstrous and powerful vocals. I would even go as far as to say only a handful of bands can go as brutal where Necroticgorebeast is coming. Obviously bands like Cannibal Corpse with, Corpse Grinder Fisher are among the same department, if you will. But most death metal bands don't have so brutal and deep voice as this one has. And on top of that, you have this wonderful production. It's not only heavy and taking, subwoofer, but, even those drums, detail, whether we're talking kick drums or, just snare drum, hi-hat, ride, splashes, crashes, whatever you have there, they're all sounding crisp and clear, which then again emphasizes even more this brutal feeling. I mean, if you do brutal death metal or any kind of death metal, in my opinion, you need to have a production that totally supports the details, whether it's about technicalities or just good groove. And this band, in my opinion, has both. This is not overly technical, but it's definitely more technical than, say, some more simple and old school death metal bands, which are plenty out there right now, nowadays. But this has both ends, those kind of simple riffs where kick drums are just doing this basic drrrr, but also those more technical stuff which gets you into the details just nicely. So in my opinion, this is definitely one of the best albums of all metal so far in 2021. But because there is Cannibal Corpse with such a tremendously wonderful album out there, I don't know if this could be the album of the year. Most likely not. But that is not this band's fault. The fault is, Cannibal Corpse and the rest of the guys who are doing such a wonderful job. Anyway, whenever you get compared to album of the year candidates, which this in my opinion actually is, you really don't get to complain. This is a wonderful album, and my only fear is that only selected few people will actually listen to this, because most people are, I don't get brutal death metal, I don't get slam. Too bad, because this is fantastic when it comes to this particular genre. I hope more people will listen to this, and I hope more people will check out Necroticgorebeast's previous album. And even more so, Commodo's Music's, other good bands. Good label, good band, good music. What else a man can ask for? Well, I can think of a few, but they're not music related. So check it out. This is out, or already out, since October 1st, 2021. Hope you have a good time. Take care. Bye-bye.